Hello, I'm Aurora Davidson, CEO of Amerigo Resources. This is the fourth video in a series that introduces the concept of growth differently, growth in your personal return on invested capital. In the previous videos, I introduced two spreadsheets that show the preferability of this kind of growth versus production growth. The first spreadsheet shows Amerigo and its base operation. This is the base case scenario. This scenario shows a clear path to increasing return on invested capital in a world of rising copper prices. The second spreadsheet shows a hypothetical production growth scenario. Despite achieving a higher production level over time, that scenario does not benefit investors as much. The adverse effects of dilution, debt, and time are clearly shown. The two spreadsheets show very different scenarios, but share one commonality. That is the stability of Amerigo's operations, which is a really important concept. This video discusses that stability. Investors have been conditioned to believe that production growth is the key to creating a higher share price. But for production growth to occur, many things must go right over a long period of time. And there is always a lot of risk that isn't immediately obvious. Compare that with what Amerigo has proven in the past and is preparing for in the future, the near certainty of stable operations. That is the X factor that separates Amerigo from its peers. We are reliable because we're always looking at ways to improve. We use our operational challenges as learning events. Operational reliability doesn't just happen. It's a product of our team's expertise and dedication to shareholders. Why is this important? Because our capital return strategy depends on operational excellence. Dividends and share repurchases depend on us controlling as much as possible, as effectively as possible. We take whatever copper prices the market gives us, but we use every single day to build and try to improve on our advantages over other copper producers. That is the perfect place to start with the final part of this video series, a showcase of our operations and the forward thinking that is critical to our best-in-class capital return strategy. It all starts with Amerigo's relationship with Codelco, the copper company owned by the people of Chile. Amerigo is almost an extension of El Teniente, one of Codelco's mines and the world's largest underground copper mine. El Teniente is working to increase its life of mine by 50 years. This means that Amerigo has potentially generations of fresh copper tailings to process. In addition, Amerigo has the historical tailings at Cauquenes to process. These tailings were from El Teniente's past, and that resource is also measured in generations. Amerigo has a very long life of mine equivalent between these two sources of copper. The risk of running out of material is virtually zero, which is the centerpiece of our reliability. In addition, we have the flexibility to simultaneously produce from both of these sources. Look at our quarterly production press releases. You can see how the percentage of one source versus the other can change from quarter to quarter. That is by design. That is the MVC tweaking the process to achieve the best copper production results regardless of internal or external circumstances. Over the years, Amerigo's reliability has gotten better, not by accident, but because of the strength of our operational team and the response to a common company value. How do we make ourselves better? If something adverse occurs, how do we use that experience to make ourselves better? The pursuit of excellence is everywhere in Amerigo and the MVC operating teams. The pursuit of excellence can be clearly shown, for example, in their safety records. Over the last 4 years, the lost time injury rate has decreased consistently until it came down to 0 in 2023 and so far in 2024. And then look at the performance of the MVC concentrator plant itself. Our plant typically operates at a rate of 97%. If we exclude the annual maintenance shutdown, MVC really is operating at a rate of 99%. And this excellent rate would have been achieved for 4 consecutive years if power had not been knocked out by massive storms that devastated Chile in 2023. These are only a few examples of our attention to detail, consistency, and reliability. But we're not sitting still. We continue to make investments at MVC to decrease our vulnerability to very low probability events. These once-in-a-lifetime events, such as the flooding that ravaged Chile in 2023, are known as black swan events. So I will call our investments black swan projects. These black swan projects are some of the most valuable improvements any company can make. Yet not all companies can make them because they must spend capital in other areas. This is in sharp contrast to Amerigo, which has no growth capital requirements. When a company can focus on black swan events, you know it must already perform with high reliability. And of course, we already do. Because of the regional geographic concentration that occurs with Chilean copper producers, when one of them faces a challenge, it most likely means that other copper producers are going through the same challenges. I'm talking about geographical climate challenges. Given that Chile represents around 1/4 of the global copper supply, these challenges can be expected to impact copper prices very heavily. This is basic demand and supply. Our black swan projects ensure that additional reliability can occur during periods of operational stress, and the potential benefit to investors is tremendous. Operational reliability is going to be most valuable during periods of rising copper prices, which can be expected during periods of, for example, climate stress in Chile. The benefits from these projects can be even more important to a company like Amerigo that is focused on returning cash to shareholders as quickly as possible. You may remember how quickly our shareholders benefited from only one period of rising copper prices at the beginning of 2024. That temporary price surge resulted in a performance dividend that was bigger than a regular quarterly dividend. That is a powerful illustration of the rationale behind our black swan projects. We completed those projects to improve operational reliability, which translates to more copper for Chile and Codelco, and in turn allows our shareholders to capture rising copper prices as quickly as possible. I cannot think of another company in the copper space that can do this as well as Amerigo does. Here are a few examples of what I'm talking about. These projects include, for example, improved water thickeners. It's hard for many of us to remember, but only a few years ago, Chile and MVC's biggest concern was lack of water to produce copper. Recent improvements to our water thickeners have allowed us to use even less water to produce copper, and they work great. They benefit us even if we have more than enough water as we do now. But their value will really show if water becomes scarce again. Another project are the pipeline floaters. These buoyant collars are wrapped around the water and the slurry pipelines from the Cauquenes tailings dam to MVC's concentrator plant. Without them, the connecting pipelines would have been significantly damaged during the 2023 floods. However, with the floaters installed, the pipes are on the surface of the water where we can monitor them, repair them, and adjust to any situation with much more flexibility. Another project are upgraded power lines. Last year, we replaced high voltage power lines and transmission towers after they were destroyed by the massive flood that impacted Chile. Rather than simply replacing them, we upgraded the structures and also moved them much farther away from the riverbanks. Although the flood levels were once in a generation, future flooding would need to be even more epic before we would have vulnerability in the same way. Another project is our new transformer. We have installed a new standby power transformer, which increases our power redundancy. This additional transformer will allow uninterrupted production to continue at MVC if one of our two existing power transformers should go down for any reason. Taken together, all of these Black Swan projects are part of a proactive backup system that will really create value at the most critical times. When those times occur, the positive impact will be very evident. Black Swan projects let us benefit from higher copper prices at full production levels whenever possible, especially when there are industry-wide problems and other producers are falling short. During periods like that, Amerigo's return on invested capital will continue leading over its peers. Black Swan projects are the ultimate example of forward-looking operational and financial thought, and our company excels at them. Of course, we're never done looking for ways to improve. In this final video of the series, I wanted to highlight these Black Swan projects so that you can see that there is no end to our pursuit of operational excellence. We understand the importance of stability to investors and its critical position in our capital return strategy. We want investors to count on the regular quarterly dividends and anticipate performance dividends and share buybacks in a world of strengthening copper prices. A periodic showcase of our operations is never a bad idea, though. I hope you have enjoyed our growth stock video series and our discussion of why you should pick Amerigo as your copper growth stock. You see, Amerigo is not about speculating on future growth. It's about receiving the benefits of the long-term rise in copper prices as quickly as possible. It's about the best kind of growth, the growth in your personal return on invested capital. Thank you.